Kiara, after 15 years with TechVantage, we're restructuring your position, Marjorie Thompson said, her voice carrying a faint, almost imperceptible note of satisfaction. She sat across from me in the small conference room, flanked by Denise from HR, both wearing expressions of carefully measured corporate regret. The company is moving in a new direction, Denise added, sliding a manila folder across the table. Your contributions have been invaluable, but we're consolidating the research division under product development. I accepted the folder without opening it, nodding thoughtfully. Inside would be the usual severance package, 2 weeks per year of service, 3 months of health coverage, and a list of career counseling resources I had no intention of using. I completely understand, I said, my voice steady. Relief flashed across their faces. They had clearly anticipated tears, protests, or anger. After all, I was a 55-year-old woman being pushed out of a tech industry obsessed with youth. What they didn't know was that I had been expecting this moment for weeks, ever since a misdirected email had landed in my inbox last month. We'd like you to clear your desk by Friday, Marjorie continued, gaining confidence from my calm. We'll need your keycard, laptop, and phone. Your team will be informed this afternoon. My team, 6 brilliant engineers I had personally recruited and mentored, the same ones who had helped me develop the distributed processing algorithm powering TechVantage's flagship product, AccountSphere, used by over 40% of Fortune 500 companies, was about to be left behind. Of course, I replied, rising. Anything else? They exchanged glances, clearly unsettled by my composure. Marjorie recovered first. That's all for now. Thank you for being professional about this. Walking back to my office, I passed the glass-walled conference room where the executive team was meeting. CEO Victor Lawson gestured animatedly at a PowerPoint titled Q3 Revenue Projections, the same man who had claimed credit for my algorithm at last year's industry conference, referring to me only as one of our research team members. I closed my office door and sent a single text. It's happening. Friday is my last day. The reply was immediate, perfect timing. Contracts are ready. Dinner tonight to finalize details. I smiled at the calendar. Today was Wednesday. Friday, I'd leave TechVantage. Monday would be fascinating. That evening, I met Gregory Sullivan at Meridian, an upscale restaurant far from TechVantage headquarters. Greg, CEO of Precision Systems, TechVantage's largest competitor, knew discretion. A private dining alcove shielded by elegant Japanese screens awaited us. They actually did it, Greg said, shaking his head after we ordered. I suspected they might, but to cut the person who created their core technology? I replied, sipping water. Victor never understood what I actually built. I continued, he saw the interface, the marketing potential, but the architecture? Just tech stuff to him. The irony is delicious. 3 months ago, I discovered TechVantage had never filed the patent for my distributed processing algorithm. Their legal team claimed it was an oversight, but a closer look at internal documentation revealed a memo. They planned to claim the algorithm as company developed, without attributing the inventor, pushing me out before securing the patent, knowing company policy favored them in intellectual property disputes. What they didn't know was that I had already refined the algorithm on my own time, using personal equipment. The improvements, boosting processing efficiency by 43%, were mine. I'd quietly filed for a patent under my name, complete with timestamps and logs. Thanks to Greg's introduction to a top IP attorney, the patent had been granted swiftly. All paperwork's finalized, Greg said, sliding a folder across the table. Sign here, and Precision Systems acquires exclusive licensing rights. Monday morning's press release will announce you as our new Chief Innovation Officer. I reviewed the documents. Though I had memorized the key terms, a 7-figure signing bonus, significant equity, and ongoing royalties from products using my algorithm. What do you think Victor will say when he finds out? Greg asked, barely hiding his satisfaction. I'm more concerned about my team, I said. They shouldn't get caught in the fallout. Greg nodded. Already handled. Senior roles with raises are ready for all 6, if they're interested. I signed. One elegant move secured my future, protected my team, and ensured recognition for my work. To new beginnings, Greg toasted. And to owning your own value, I replied. Thursday and Friday blurred with exit interviews, knowledge transfers, and farewells. I maintained composure as rumors swirled. I meticulously documented every project, password, and process evidence of my good faith where the company had none. During my final exit interview, Denise mechanically went through the checklist. You understand any IP developed during employment remains TechVantage's property, she said, sliding an NDA across. Of course, I replied pleasantly, emphasizing that only work done on company time with company resources belonged to them. Denise barely noticed. Packing personal items, family photos, conference badges, the coffee mug my team had gifted me. Marjorie appeared at my door. I just wanted to make sure everything's clear for your departure, she said. Crystal clear, I said. I replied, carefully wrapping the small award I'd received for the very algorithm now at the center of my plans. The irony wasn't lost on me as I placed it between layers of tissue paper. You know, Kiara, these restructuring decisions are never personal, Marjorie continued. Victor feels the company needs to move in a more youthful direction. I met her gaze steadily. I understand completely. Business is business. A flicker of uncertainty crossed her face, quickly masked. What could a soon-to-be unemployed 55-year-old woman possibly do? Will you be taking some time off? She asked, her concern carefully measured. Actually, I already have something lined up, I said. I start Monday. Surprise flickered across her features. That's fast. Anything interesting? I smiled. Very. A leadership position. I'm quite excited about it. She nodded absently, already moving on in her mind. Well, good luck with that. As I walked out of TechVantage's glass headquarters for the last time, keycard surrendered, personal belongings in tow, I paused to look back at the building where I'd spent 15 years. On the top floor, the executive conference room glowed with an evening meeting, likely focused on redistributing my responsibilities among younger, less experienced, and cheaper staff. Little did they know that, in less than 72 hours, that very room would be hosting an emergency crisis meeting. Monday morning dawned bright and clear. I dressed in a charcoal power suit I'd reserved for this day. The Precision Systems town car arrived promptly at 7:30 a.m., ready to take me to my new headquarters, where I would begin my first day as Chief Innovation Officer. The press release went live at 7 a.m., Greg informed me as I settled into my corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows. Industry newsletters are already picking it up. The communications team is monitoring reactions. The announcement had been crafted with surgical precision. Precision Systems acquires exclusive rights to revolutionary processing algorithm. Welcomes creator Dr. Kira Jennings as Chief Innovation Officer. It highlighted my background, confirmed my sole inventorship, and outlined the integration of the algorithm into the next generation of products. Most importantly, it stipulated that any company currently using the technology would need to negotiate licensing agreements with Precision Systems. At 9:15 a.m., my phone buzzed with the first text from my former team at TechVantage. Complete chaos here. What did you do? Miguel, my lead developer, had sent it. I smiled and replied. Check your personal email. All 6 of you have offers waiting. 8 miles away, TechVantage was in turmoil. Miguel's play-by-play updates painted the scene. Victor arrived to find the general counsel and CFO waiting. Ash and Fade reacting simultaneously to the announcement, and alarms sounding throughout the executive floor. By 9:30, a routine Monday meeting had become an emergency crisis session. Board members called in remotely. The legal team scoured my employment contract and algorithm documentation. They're pulling every file with your name on it, Miguel texted. Servers from the research division are being wheeled in for analysis. I could picture Victor pacing the conference room, demanding explanations from Marjorie and the legal department. The stock market was already reacting, investors hated uncertainty, and this news delivered plenty. At 10:45, I received an email from Victor himself, desperation practically radiating off the screen. Kiara, there appears to be a misunderstanding. Please call me at your earliest convenience to discuss. I forwarded it to Precision Systems' legal team without replying. By noon, speculation buzzed through the industry. TechVantage's stock had dropped 7% since the market opened, while Precision Systems rose 12%. Technology journals clamored for interviews about the strategic coup that had shaken the accounting software sector. How are you feeling? Greg asked, stopping by my office. Validated, I replied. 15 years of others claiming credit for my work, being told to be grateful just to have a seat at the table, and now, finally, recognition. My new executive assistant appeared, Dr. Jennings, The development team is ready in the main conference room. TechVantage's CEO has called 4 times in the last hour. Please tell him I'm in meetings all day, I said calmly. Our legal team will follow up regarding licensing later this week. Miguel buzzed my phone again. Board just called emergency session. Victor looks about to explode. P.S. My team and I accept your offer. When can we start? By Tuesday morning, I replied. The full impact of my departure became clear. AccountSphere relied entirely on my algorithm. Without licensing rights, TechVantage faced 2 grim choices: negotiate with Precision Systems or rebuild the core technology from scratch, a process requiring years and millions. Miguel reported that Victor had convened an all-hands meeting at 2 p.m. His last day at TechVantage was imminent. My team would begin at Precision Systems the following Monday. Rumor is they might sue you, Miguel added. I forwarded the note to our legal team. Let them try, came the confident reply. Documentation was airtight, development logs, timestamps, and personal equipment usage all proved the work was done outside company time. Meanwhile, I settled into my new role effortlessly. Respect at Precision Systems was immediate. When I spoke, people listened. My ideas weren't repackaged by colleagues as their own. Age and experience were valued as assets rather than liabilities. The engineering team is implementing your efficiency improvements, Greg said during the afternoon briefing. Early testing shows a 51% performance boost, better than projected. I had additional refinements I never shared with TechVantage, I admitted. Once I realized they planned to eliminate my position, there was no reason to show them my best work. Their loss, our gain, Greg replied with a satisfied smile. By the way, first licensing inquiry came in this morning, not from TechVantage. Dataflow Systems is worried about being caught in the crossfire. At 3:30 p.m., Miguel sent a detailed account of Victor's all-hands meeting. The CEO tried to project confidence, assuring staff that proprietary technology would be defended, but anxiety was palpable. Employees updated LinkedIn profiles, sensing instability. Marjorie looked ready to faint when asked if they'd failed to secure the patent. Victor cut the QA short. By Wednesday, the industry fallout intensified. 2 major clients contacted Precision Systems, considering switching from AccountSphere. Stock prices reflected the shift, Precision Systems up another 8%, TechVantage continuing to decline. I received a call from Denise in HR, the same woman who had slid my severance package across the table just days earlier. Kiara, she began, her voice carefully professional. I'm calling to discuss the, situation with your patent. We believe there may have been a misunderstanding about ownership rights. I don't think there's any misunderstanding, I replied calmly. My employment agreement clearly states that intellectual property developed on my own time using my own resources remains mine. The patent documentation confirms that. Victor was hoping you might consider coming in to discuss options. Denise continued. Any discussions would need to go through Precision Systems' legal department now. I'm sure they'd be happy to set up a meeting to discuss licensing terms, I said. The silence on the other end spoke volumes. Finally, Denise sighed. I'll pass that along. That afternoon, I led my first formal presentation to Precision Systems Board, outlining our technology roadmap with my algorithm at its center. Standing confidently at the head of the table, not hidden in the back as I had been at TechVantage, I caught Greg's approving nod. By Friday, just 1 week after leaving TechVantage, the company had entered full crisis mode. Their stock had fallen 23% since Monday's opening bell, prompting calls from anxious investors. Analysts were publishing speculative pieces. Can TechVantage survive the algorithm crisis? And how one strategic blunder may cost a tech giant everything. Through industry contacts, I learned Victor had finally acknowledged the severity of the situation to the board. TechVantage now faced 2 choices: license my algorithm from Precision Systems at rates that would devastate their margins, or rebuild AccountSphere entirely without infringing on my patent. They've started interviewing for a new development team, Miguel informed me during our Friday video call, discussing his transition to Precision Systems. Victor's claiming they can recreate the functionality in 6 months, I said, laughing. The original algorithm had taken 3 years to perfect, and that was with intimate knowledge of the problem space. Exactly, Miguel agreed. Nobody believes the timeline, especially after your team submitted their resignation letters simultaneously. The knowledge drain is massive. That afternoon, TechVantage's attorneys reached out to Precision Systems to open a dialogue. Our legal team responded with terms that were fair but strategically painful. Triple the standard licensing rate in public acknowledgement of my inventorship. They'll balk at the acknowledgement more than the cost, Greg predicted. Victor's ego won't allow him to admit he pushed out the person who created their core technology. I replied, every day they spend trying to replicate my work extends our lead in the market. The following Monday, 10 days after my dismissal, I led the first meeting with my new innovation team, Miguel and the other 5 former TechVantage engineers. The energy in the room was electric as we mapped out the next evolution of my algorithm. This is how development meetings should be, Anita said, one of my former team members. Half our time at TechVantage was spent explaining basic concepts to executives who wouldn't listen. That's the difference between being valued and being seen as replaceable. I replied, here, your expertise is recognized. As the session ended, my assistant appeared. Dr. Jennings, TechVantage just announced an emergency leadership change. Victor Lawson is stepping down, effective immediately. Within hours, industry publications reported the board's loss of confidence in Victor following the patent crisis. Marjorie Thompson and the head of legal were also out. That evening, I received an email from Richard Donovan, TechVantage's newly appointed interim CEO. Unlike Victor's desperate message, it was straightforward and respectful. Dr. Jennings, congratulations on your new position. I've been brought in to help TechVantage navigate the current situation. I'd like to discuss a fair licensing arrangement for your patented technology. We're prepared to publicly acknowledge your contributions and make appropriate amends for previous oversights. Would you be available to meet next week? I forwarded the email to Greg with a simple note, Phase 1 complete. His reply was swift, beautifully executed. The board is celebrating your first major victory for Precision Systems. Looks like TechVantage is finally learning an expensive lesson about valuing innovation and innovators. 3 months after leaving TechVantage, I stood on stage at the National Technology Innovation Conference, preparing to deliver the keynote. The audience was filled with industry leaders, journalists, and aspiring developers, many now familiar with my story. And now, I'm pleased to introduce our keynote speaker. The organizer announced, Dr. Kara Jennings, Chief Innovation Officer at Precision Systems and creator of the distributed processing algorithm revolutionizing data handling across industries. The applause was substantial as I approached the podium. Last year, I'd sat in the back while Victor presented as part of the TechVantage delegation. Thank you, I began. Today, I want to talk about innovation, ownership, and the importance of valuing intellectual contributions regardless of their source. My presentation detailed the technical aspects of my algorithm while highlighting the broader issues of recognition and respect in tech. Without mentioning TechVantage by name, I emphasized that companies should protect innovators rather than treating them as replaceable resources. Afterward, several young women engineers approached me, seeking advice and mentorship. One, barely 30, confided, your story changed how I document my work. I started keeping detailed logs of my development on personal time. Smart, I replied, your innovations deserve protection. By evening, industry news confirmed TechVantage had announced a licensing agreement with Precision Systems, publicly acknowledging me as the algorithm's creator. Their stock had stabilized, though at a lower valuation than before my departure. 1 year to the day after being told to clean out my desk, I sat in my office at Precision Systems reviewing the quarterly innovation report. Under my leadership, 3 groundbreaking products built on my algorithm had captured significant market share from TechVantage and other competitors. A knock interrupted my analysis. Greg entered with a bottle of champagne and 2 glasses. Happy anniversary, he said, setting the glasses down. Precision Systems has officially surpassed TechVantage in market valuation for the first time. I smiled, feeling quiet satisfaction rather than triumph. That's what happens when you value innovation properly, I said. As Greg poured, my assistant delivered a sleek envelope, an invitation to speak at the Women in Technology Leadership Summit. Topic: Owning your intellectual value, how proper documentation changed an industry. You've become something of an icon, Greg commented. Your story is a cautionary tale in boardrooms everywhere. Richard Donovan had implemented sweeping changes at TechVantage, modeled after the systems I established at Precision Systems, ensuring proper recognition and protection for innovators. It was never about revenge, I said. raising my glass. It was about recognition, showing the industry that innovation isn't anonymous. It comes from real people who deserve real credit. Greg clinked his glass against mine. Proper recognition. As the afternoon sun streamed through my office, I reflected on the journey. At 56, I had found not just success, but acknowledgement. My name was now permanently attached to the algorithm that had changed an industry, exactly where it belonged.